Tennessee Titans fans, the Titans have fired their head coach, Brian Callahan, and it is way too early to even be having these discussions. We've got forever to talk about this. We're in the middle of the season. The Titans play a game this Sunday, for Pete's sake. It would be ridiculous to even discuss this right now, but let's do it anyway. These are 10 coaches that I think the Titans very well realistically could interview and or hire this January. I'm going to go through these 10 names, and I'm going to tell you why I like this option, why I don't like this option, and then you can tell me in the comments who you like or don't like. In no particular order, up first is Joe Brady, currently the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and a top prospect. A lot of people talking about the fact that this guy will probably be a head coach somewhere next year. Now, I don't know who else is going to fire their coach. I know the Dolphins are probably going to fire McDaniel. I know there's a lot of talk about the Browns with Kevin Stefanski. If they fire him, I would like to talk to him. I know there's other teams that will fire their head coach, but Joe Brady will be among the hottest candidates. It's intriguing, yes. Is he a good offensive mind? Yes. Let me tell you my holdup with Joe Brady. After the Brian Callahan disaster that I have just watched, I'm a little bit iffy about hiring an unproven first-time head coach. I'm skeptical at this point. After watching what happened with Brian Callahan, he's worked with Burrow. He's done all of this. He's the offensive guru, the quarterback whisperer. That I just don't know if I can do it again. And I understand Joe Brady. There's a lot of things to like about him, but is he really that good at his job, or is he benefiting from working with a generational quarterback in Josh Allen? Was Brian Callahan really good at his job? Or was he just working with a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow? I just get skeptical about that. It leaves me with a knot in my stomach. But I do think Joe Brady will absolutely be interviewed, and he will be a strong possibility to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I'm just nervous about another unproven first-time head coach. Brian Flores. I still think Brian Flores can be a good coach in this league. I think he's done a good job in Minnesota. I think he really didn't do a bad job with Miami. The reason why I don't think this will happen, the reason why I don't even know if Brian Flores will even get an interview with the Titans, is because remember what happened with Brian Flores being let go as a head coach? He wasn't a good collaborator. There was some tension with him and other people in the organization. The Titans, if that's his reputation, and I don't know if it's fair or not, but if that's his reputation, the Titans are going to want to stay far away from anybody that could come in and start causing trouble, because that's the last thing they need, is somebody to come in and not be a good collaborator and not work well with everybody. You just don't want somebody with that reputation coming in, because the Titans are so dysfunctional right now as it is. Bringing somebody that has a reputation for being a loose cannon, whether that's fair or not, I just don't think they're going to want to get anywhere near him. The next coach, I will say Mike Kafka, offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. This one doesn't move me. Again, the same thing as Joe Brady. It's an unproven first-time head coach. And I just, the Titans interviewed Mike Kafka a couple of years ago after they fired Vrabel. He was an option, and this doesn't excite me at all. I understand there are some people who try to tout his accomplishments and why he would be. First of all, it's another Mike. Another Mike. We love our Mikes. This option doesn't move me at all. Doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever. And they've already interviewed him once. I would not be excited about this at this point. You can always change my mind. Kliff Kingsbury, formerly the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, coached a lot of college football. Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Now, I have been quoted as saying I'm iffy on Kliff Kingsbury because I remember seeing him as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and it was not good. But I will say they went to the playoffs. The best Kyler Murray has ever looked in the NFL was under Kliff Kingsbury. And the year that Kliff Kingsbury was fired, the Cardinals went 4-13. They had a lot of injuries. They didn't have a very good roster. There is reason to believe that Kliff Kingsbury could still be a good head coach. And I'm more interested in him even than I would be Joe Brady or for sure Mike Kafka, because of the fact that he at least has head coaching experience. He's done it before. He's been there, done that, and this would be a second chance for him. So I think that feels more appealing. I mean, I've talked about the other three options before this. Joe Brady would be a first-time unproven head coach. Brian Flores, the reputation that he has of not being a good collaborator, I don't think the Titans would want that. Mike Kafka does not excite me at all. But Kliff Kingsbury, I could absolutely be talked into because he's a good he has a reputation, at least, of being a good helper of young quarterbacks. Look at what he's done for Jaden Daniels. And again, I do wonder how much of that's Kliff, how much of that is just Jaden Daniels being great. But he's good for young quarterbacks. Like I said, the best Kyler Murray has ever looked in the NFL was probably under Kliff Kingsbury. So I'm not against this. Of the four options so far that I have said, Kliff Kingsbury is my favorite of the four. My favorite of the four. He's got head coaching experience. I think he would bring stability. I think he could be good for Cam Ward. And I don't think his time at Arizona was as bad as I remembered. I've been reading up on Kliff Kingsbury today. Again, they had injury issues the year that he was let go. Vance Joseph used to be a head coach. Now he's a defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. I mean, maybe, but Vance Joseph in his time as a head coach, like, it wasn't good. Like, I think they went 5-11 and then 6-10 when he was in the 2 years that he was head coach. So, like, he's not a proven winner, and I just don't know. That's a bit iffy for me when you have a guy who's been a head coach before and not won. You know, and Kliff Kingsbury at least has been to the playoffs, had winning seasons. Vance Joseph hasn't even had that. And I will say, if you hire a defensive-minded head coach, then whoever you hire as your offensive coordinator, that almost becomes just as important as who you hire for your head coach. Because the most important thing about this team right now is the development of Cam Ward. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like, probably would like Vance Joseph more than Mike Kafka, but I still say Kliff Kingsbury is my favorite option so far. Matt Nagy. No. I mean, used to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Obviously, he was the head coach when they had the double doink. I will say he has won in this league with Mitchell Trubisky as his quarterback. The Bears had a very good season with Matt Nagy as the head coach, but he was fired for a reason. The Bears got really bad really quickly. He's been the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so there's your tie-in to Mike Borgonzi, Chiefs. But I'm just not, like, I'm not at the point where I can be like, oh, he's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Clearly he's doing a good job. How hard is it to be the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Andy Reid as the head coach? I don't want another head coach who has been the offensive coordinator somewhere, but they're not really the guy calling the plays or running the offense. I don't have any interest in that. The fact that he's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs does nothing for me. I know you can point to what he did with the Bears, the fact that they had some good times with him and Trubisky, of all people. I hear that, but much like Mike Kafka, this one would not particularly excite me. Arthur Smith, King Arthur, former offensive coordinator for the Titans. Offensive coordinator for the Titans team that went to the AFC Championship game. Offensive coordinator for the Titans team that won the AFC South and Derrick Henry went for over 2,000 yards. I'm not as against this as many of you. I think Arthur Smith is an awesome offensive coordinator. I think in Nashville for the Titans, it was the best looking offense I've seen from the Titans in 20 years at that time. He was a head coach in Atlanta, and I know it didn't go well. But this dude had Desmond Ridder playing quarterback for him in Atlanta, and the ghost of Marcus Mariota another year. And I think they went like 7-10 both years. He was let go after 2 seasons. But with Desmond Ridder and the ghost of Marcus Mariota, he never really had a fair shot. And now he's the offensive coordinator for the Steelers with the ghost of Aaron Rodgers, and their offense looks pretty dang good. He's doing a pretty dang good job in Pittsburgh. So I'm not as against this as you guys are, because I think he is a great offensive mind. The problem is he reminds me a lot of Brian Callahan. His personality, he's really chill. He's really laid back. Can Arthur Smith establish a culture? Can he come in and establish a culture in Nashville? Again, I like this idea more than I like Matt Nagy or Mike Kafka. Maybe not as much as Kliff Kingsbury, but like Arthur Smith, I'm not as against it as some of you guys are. I'm not. He reminds me a little bit of Callahan with his personality, but I think in terms of being an offensive-minded guy, he's not even, like, Callahan's not even on his level. I'm not as against this as some of you guys are. I'm not opposed. I'm not saying I'm for it, but I'm not totally against it. Here's another guy with Tennessee Titans ties, Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz was the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans for a long time. And even more recently, under Vrabel, he was a defensive assistant for the Titans. Organization needing some stability. Organization needing somebody that has a lot of experience coaching, who's been doing this for a long time, to come in and just settle everything down, a name from the past that's done a good job here. It's not my favorite idea. I get the logic behind it, but it's not my favorite idea in the world. I've just never been a big fan of Jim Schwartz as a head coach. I know he's a really good defensive mind. I just don't know, man. I don't know about Jim Schwartz as head coach. Here's a front runner, Mike McCarthy. A lot of people talking about Mike McCarthy, former head coach of the Green Bay Packers, ties to Chad Brinker maybe there with the Packers. McCarthy won a Super Bowl there with probably not prime Aaron Rodgers, but very good Aaron Rodgers. And then he was a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas was consistently in the playoffs with Mike McCarthy as the head coach, consistently in the mix in the NFC with Mike McCarthy as the head coach. He's taken a year off, and he's heavily interested in getting back into coaching. Here's why I think Mike McCarthy is a front runner to get the job. I think the Titans are going to want somebody with experience. I think everything I said about Joe Brady earlier, being a first-time inexperienced head coach, I think after the Brian Callahan disaster, the Titans are they're going to want to go with a proven head coach that can come in and stabilize things, because this organization is in complete disarray right now. That's where I think Mike McCarthy's name really becomes a front runner because of his ties to Chad Brinker, because of the fact that he's done a good job. He's been a good coach everywhere he's gone, because of the fact, I know it's not the most exciting hire in the world, but he can bring some stability. He's been around the block many times. He can come in and start to stabilize this organization that has been in complete disarray for the last few years. And he's a good coach. I know he's not the most exciting option. I know we want the youngest, hippest offensive mind, but Mike McCarthy, having experience, lots of experience, having a Super Bowl ring, having ties to Chad Brinker, ability to potentially come in and add some stability to this organization, I think that makes him a front runner for the job. Maybe not the front runner, but a front runner to get this job, because I think the Titans are going to want somebody with experience. One more. Jon Gruden. Now, there's two sides to this. First of all, there's a lawsuit between Jon Gruden and the NFL. So that complicates things. But on one hand, experience. He's been around the block many times. He's a recognizable face. People know him. He's fairly popular. The Titans have a new stadium coming in 2027. You want to get headlines? You want to get people talking about the Tennessee Titans? You want to create excitement in Nashville? Yeah, hiring Jon Gruden would probably do that. As plugged in as he is with Barstool Sports and Bussin' with the Boys and all of these things that he's involved in now that get his name out there, yeah, it would make headlines and it would bring in a ton of news media to Nashville. Would it bring wins? I don't know, because most recently he was a head coach of the Raiders and it wasn't particularly great. He has not been in the playoffs since I was a little lad. But on one hand, yeah, it would bring excitement. It would get the fan base talking, energized for better or for worse. But on the other hand, for an organization that's in total disarray, for an organization that is completely topsy-turvy, is the best option really a guy who's currently in a lawsuit with the NFL, who's like become kind of a cartoon character on social media with his facial expressions and his videos, and he's with Barstool and he's doing all this wacky stuff? Is that really the guy that's going to stabilize the organization and right the ship? Now, Jon Gruden, if he were to get hired somewhere, he's going to be out for vengeance because he feels like he was wronged by the NFL, and so he's going to be a man on a mission if he gets a job anywhere. That intrigues me, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Is this the guy to stabilize things? Is this the guy that's going to calm things down and bring a little, peace to the Titans' crazy organization, or is he just going to make it crazier? Did I miss anybody? It's only October. There'll be new names surface. Some of these names will be sent out the door. Let me know who you think should get consideration to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. God bless you, everybody. Tighten up.